Hey everybody, Ash here. Spoiler alert, of course. Big spoilers. We're talking about endings. In response to a few of you asking for this, I posted the Cyberpunk 2077 endings chart that I used at the end of my How to Get the Secret Ending video, planning to use it in a couple more videos. I made this because I wanted to have a clean visual representation of how the endings work in Cyberpunk 2077, and so if you want to take a look at it for yourself, have it for reference, use it in your own videos and guides, etc., you go right ahead. All I ask is that you don't remove the SSS League watermark, but go ahead and use it for whatever you want. You can find a link to a nice 4K version of this graphic in the description below. Quickly here, I'll just walk you through how I structured this and why I put it together the way I did. So as I was going through all of the endings for Cyberpunk 2077, I realized that there were basically 3 phases to the ending. There's the point of no return, the climactic mission sequence, and then a resolution. We talk about there being 6 or 7 different endings to Cyberpunk 2077, depending how you number it, depending how you categorize things. But really, the full ending that you get is a combination of all 3 of these things. The point of no return quest is always the same, Nocturne Opus 55 number 1. That's where you meet with Hanako Arasaka, then you start to malfunction, and eventually you wind up on the roof talking to Misty and Johnny Silverhand, and there you make a choice. Some of these choices are only available if you have completed certain quest lines during the game. Asking Panam for help, asking Rogue for help. You have to complete their quest lines essentially, otherwise those choices are not available. And the option to attack Arasaka solo, which is the secret ending path, is only available if you follow the steps that I've laid out in my How to Get the Secret Ending video. Recommend checking that out if you're interested in taking on that secret ending. Now, I called it the secret ending path very deliberately, rather than just the secret ending, because it's not so much the resolution you get at the end that is different or secret, it's the path you take to get there, and then you get a special variation on the resolution. Certain things are different in the resolution because you took that path instead of another path. I'll explain that more in a sec, but let's move on to the climactic mission sequence, and this is directly dependent on the choice you make on the rooftop, and each one of these is very different. You get a completely different set of quests depending on that rooftop choice you make. You do always wind up at Arasaka Tower, but very different things happen. How you get there, the way you enter the building, what happens once you're inside. All of it is very different depending on which path you're taking. I've laid them all out here. Now, you can see there's only 4. The 5th choice you can make on the roof is that V decides to end himself. That one doesn't have any quest associated with it. That just takes you immediately to the end. You get a cutscene, and then there's credits. Now, at the end of the climactic mission sequence, you have a choice to make, and this determines the resolution that you arrive at. And as you can see, in most cases, it's a choice between, who gets to keep the body. Is it V or Johnny? While the other one remains in cyberspace. The one variation is during the secret ending path. If you die during that mission, Don't Fear the Reaper, that's treated as an ending in and of itself, and you're taken to the credits. Now, if you chose to side with Arasaka and get their help with your malfunctioning chip problem, you have a very different choice to make at the end. They remove Johnny from your head, and then you have to make a choice about whether or not to take the deal they offer you. And finally, once all that's done, you arrive at the resolution, and these are what are commonly referred to as the endings, although, as I said earlier, I consider the ending to be the entire process and path that you take to get to the resolution. The reason being, you can see with some of these, there are multiple arrows leading into the resolution. Each one of those could be considered an ending in and of itself because there are variations that happen depending on the path you took to get there. Certain characters might be alive or dead, not just in terms of you being aware of whether or not they've survived, but they might actually show up if they're still alive, or you might have objectives that pop up in response to them not being there anymore. There are still other variations depending on whether or not V is in a romantic relationship, so the number of endings really depends on how you define what an ending is. If you ignore the variations and just count the number of resolutions, there are 6 plus 1. Dying during the Don't Fear the Reaper mission is, I consider it to be a 7th ending, but it doesn't really have a resolution, it just cuts to the credits. And then, of course, there's all of those phone messages that you get during the credits, and those are very different depending on the type of relationship you have with all of the characters that can potentially call you, plus also, whether or not they're alive determines whether or not they'll give you a call. So that's why I've laid it out like this. It's more complicated than just counting the number of ending cutscenes. In my mind, the ending of Cyberpunk 2077 is the full experience you get starting from the point of no return all the way to the end of the phone messages in the end credits. I don't know about you, but some of them hit pretty hard. Say what you will about the lack of choice and as far as affecting the endings in this game, it would have been nice to have more impact on the world. but considering the story design they went with, I do like how the endings are laid out, and that there's so much variation in the experience you can have as a player, even though the story branches are more limited. So those are my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think. Give me your opinion in the comments down below, and like I said, feel free to grab this graphic and use it. You can find the link in the description. Hit that like button if you appreciated this content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell, and then check out some of these other videos. Find the link to our Discord server and other important stuff in the description below.